We have bad facts and a great opportunity for the Supreme Court to make bad law that will then be used against people who should not be deprived of their Second Amendment rights.
We are the Armed Attorneys. Today we're talking about probably the most significant Second Amendment case since the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association v. Bruen case. Now, unfortunately, this does not go in the direction of repealing infringements to the Second Amendment rights. In fact, gun owners might find themselves at incredible risks and court confusion, and we got to talk about it. But before we begin, show your support for the Second Amendment by hitting that like button. And today's video is brought to you by our friends over at Sonoran Desert Institute. Check them out at www.sdi.edu/armed-attorneys for online gunsmithing and armor courses and so much more. And it's also brought to you by our friends at American Hartford Gold.
As part of the firearms community, one lesson's clear. Relying on the government for protection, whether it's your life or wealth, is not smart. And unfortunately, the current state of affairs is not ideal. With soaring inflation, major economies abandoning the dollar, bank failures, and talks of a government control through the digital dollar.
Having a plan to safeguard your life savings from failing corporations and currency conflicts is crucial. That's where American Hartford Gold comes in, a precious metal dealer we trust. They can guide you in diversifying your wealth portfolio with physical gold and silver. They offer incredible products, customer service, and have a 5-star rating with thousands of reviews and an A+ from the Better Business Bureau. On top of that, they support the channel and have an incredible offer to share.
When you contact American Hartford Gold, tell them that the Armed Attorney sent you, and they'll give you up to $5,000 of free silver on your first order. To learn more, text attorney to 65532 or call 866-856-2380 or check out the link in the description below.
Now, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals gave us an incredible decision. This was back in February of 2023 in the United States versus Rahimi case out of the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. If anybody's looking for that case number, it's 21-11001. And what's going on here?
Okay, so this is Rahimi versus the United States. And here is, I'll tell you, we're filming this on June the 27th. By the time this airs, the Supreme Court will probably have already granted cert on this case, which means
we need to open up the bottle of whiskey and start pouring it and talking about it.
I know, right? It is, okay. So here we go. Yes, so what had happened was, in the Fifth Circuit, although they reversed decision several times because this was playing out over the course of Bruen, essentially, right? Ultimately, Fifth Circuit says, hey, we can't find a historical analog to this protective order ban on the possession of firearms. So, therefore, this is an unconstitutional restriction on the Second Amendment under Bruen. Here you go. Again, we're making it rain with breaking down anti-gun laws, which is phenomenal. Except, and if you watch this channel, you have heard us say this 100,000 times, but it is so true. Bad facts make bad law. And that is what everybody is worried about if Rahimi proceeds to the Supreme Court. So, Richard, bad facts.
Well, we have Mr. Rahimi, who is an alleged drug dealer, beat his girlfriend, got a protective order granted against him that would restrain him from harassing, stalking, threatening, causing violence. And we have a prohibition under 18 U.S.C. 922 that says, hey, somebody subject to one of these orders, they do not have a right to purchase or possess or transfer firearms and ammunition. Now, Mr. Rahimi, not Citizen of the Year. He's probably, if you would ask most people, and maybe not even just on this channel, if you ask most people, he's probably not the kind of person you want having a gun. He'd been involved in many shootings prior to this alleged incident. One where his buddy's credit card was declined at a Whataburger, and so in response, he pulled his gun out and started shooting off into the air.
Drove by someone's house, started shooting into it while under the protective order that says he wasn't allowed to have guns. This is...
Yeah, 5 unjust justified shootings in as many months.
Yes.
But the court is presented with this unique issue in light of the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association v. Bruen case, is that, are these civil restraining or protective orders, where there isn't kind of this criminal process where we would deprive somebody of a right to keep and bear arms, can that be a disability to someone's right to keep and bear arms? And what does the Fifth Circuit tell us?
Well, the Fifth Circuit tells us that there is no historical analog, right? You cannot restrict someone's Second Amendment rights for simply being under a protective order. And so we have this scenario in which, I've read the Department of Justice's petition for certiorari. Front facing and forward is what a terrible human being Mr. Rahimi is. Why? Because even though it should not matter in a black and white, sterile legal world, it does matter, and it's gonna matter. And the justices are gonna look at this and they're gonna say, it's gonna color everything they say about this issue. And I'll tell you, the anti-gunners are like rubbing their hands together, waiting for the Supreme Court to grant cert on this case, which
Yeah, meme of guy coming behind tree.
exactly, because it's the opportunity for them to limit Bruen. And with these facts, potentially that's what's going to happen, is there's going to be some sort of public safety exception, or in the best public interest exception to the Bruen standard of historical analogs for restrictions on the Second Amendment. And in a case like this with like a really bad guy, and no one wants him to have a gun. I don't want him to have a gun. I mean, I'm the most programmed person in the world. I don't want him to have a gun, right?
If he's so dangerous, why isn't he locked up though?
People
I'm
like us,
trying to be an
people
advocate.
like us,
Trying to be an advocate.
But this
I'm
is
the comment
what.
section.
Sure. So, but that's where we're sitting right now, is we have bad facts and a great opportunity for the Supreme Court to make bad law that will then be used against people who should not be deprived of their Second Amendment rights. It will be used to restrict the Second Amendment again, and to really cut Bruen off at the knees. And it's a huge problem. And I don't know what we do about it, because they're going to accept cert. They're going to do it.
Yeah, so this petition for cert was filed on March the 17th by the Solicitor General of the United States. They just held their conference on this on June the 22nd. Now, that's where they circulate petitions among the justices, and they decide, hey, do we want to hear this case, or do we want the full court to hear this case? And so I would say in all probabilities, they are going to hear this case.
I think so.
Now, this is, again, kind of a red light, or, we need to kind of be on guard for this, because we have a really clean standard by which we judge Second Amendment infringements. That's what we have right now.
We had a clean standard.
Yes. Well,
I
wouldn't count our chick.
clean standard. I mean, that's what I am. I am a huge pessimist on this issue. I think I am. If this reaches the Supreme Court, I think we're going to have problems.
Yeah. Well, I will say, if this case is moot for whatever reason, if they can find some out, the court loves to find reasons why a case is no longer ripe for being judged. I'd say that's probably the most likely way that this case isn't heard.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how we get there, but it's really important that we watch this, because what we've seen is all of these states react to the new standard by going haywire on gun
Mhm.
laws, and they're slowly getting litigated and knocked down. But if we have this exception to New York State Rifle and Pistol, I think it is going to be a tremendous mess that is going to plague us for the rest of our lives.
Yes, there we are. The future told by armed attorneys.
Yeah.
But so for the doom and gloom here, we really don't have much of a solution for you, except watch this case. If they do accept cert, which they likely will, this is going to play out over the course of this next year, and it's going to be fascinating and also very scary. So it's something that every single gun owner needs to watch very carefully, because potentially this is the second most impactful Second Amendment case after Bruen.
Yeah.
Right?
I
So,
will say, if there's anything that you can do, it's join all the gun groups.
join the gun groups.
You better believe they are going to be filing amicus briefs,
Oh,
or
yeah.
friend of the court briefs, explaining why, hey, there shouldn't be any exceptions to the New York State Rifle and Pistol case. If I had one ask of y'all, it's, if you're already a member of a gun group, go join a second one. If you're a member of two, go join a third,
Oh, yeah.
because we need all the help that we can get. But we hope you enjoyed this discussion. If you did, consider subscribing, hitting that like button, and help us fight the anti-2A algorithm by sharing this video.
And please leave us a question or comment below. What do you think about the future of Bruen if the Supreme Court takes up this case? And until next time, we're the armed attorneys.
I'm not going to say that. What am I doing?